Today is Friday, June 13, 2014, the 164th day of the year. There are 201 days remaining until the end of 2014. Sunrise this morning is at 5:06 a.m. The sun will set at 8:35 p.m. Length of daylight hours today will be 15 hours, 29 minutes, 9 seconds. Of visible light, 16 hours, 36 minutes, 57 seconds. Tomorrow's daylight will persist 31 seconds longer than today. The full moon, 15 days old with 98% illumination, rises at 9:52 p.m. and sets at 6:50 a.m. Saturday. The moon passes today above Rutland City at 226,794 miles distant from the center of planet Earth, appearing within the 9th zodiacal designation, Sagittarius, the Archer. On this day in history, in 1774, Rhode Island is said to become the first of Britain's North American colonies to ban the importation of slaves from Africa. But it's just another bogus fact of history debunked by descendants of the Rhode Island family that most profited by what was then illegal, though thoroughly immoral, trade in human beings. About.com reports on June 13, 1774, Rhode Island becomes the first American colony to ban the importation of slaves and to assure their freedom. The act to ban slavery is passed in Newport by the General Assembly. However, according to the John Carter Brown Library at Brown University, Rhode Island continues to play a leading role in the transatlantic slave trade. Not only do Rhode Islanders have slaves, they have more slaves per capita than any other New England state. They participate con mucho gusto in the trade. By the close of the 18th century, Rhode Islanders have mounted at least 1,000 voyages from Africa to the Americas. In 1652, Rhode Island passes a law abolishing African slavery. The law is never enforced, and the demand for cheap labor prevails. The market for sugar and its related product, rum, is too compelling. During the colonial period, Rhode Island is one corner of the so-called triangular trade, by which slave-produced sugar and molasses from the Caribbean are carried to Rhode Island and made into rum. The rum then carried to West Africa and exchanged for slaves to produce more sugar, more rum, and more slaves. In 1764, Nicholas Brown and Company of Providence needs capital to buy supplies for their candle works. With slave labor in high demand throughout the Americas, an African voyage promises a quick and substantial profit. The initial venture with Carter Braxton, a Virginia merchant, falls through, and the Brown brothers proceed by themselves. Bound for West Africa, the brig Sally sails from Newport, Rhode Island in 1764, also the year of the founding of the College of Rhode Island in Warren. By 1770, the College of Rhode Island is moved to Providence, and in 1804 is renamed Brown University. University Hall, the oldest building on campus, is largely financed by Nicholas Brown and Company and the substantial profits earned buying and selling human lives. Born this day in 823 of the Christian era, Charles the Bald, Roman Emperor. Everybody knows Julius Caesar because, Shakespeare, Marlon Brando. Everybody knows Nero. But this guy, Charles the Bald, so-called because of an unfortunate inherited male pattern and because every other nickname was already taken, was the king of the Western Franks from 843 when he's 20 until 877 when he dies. King of Italy from 845 and Holy Roman Emperor as Charles II, a little more dignified as titles go. After a series of civil wars that began in the reign of his father, Louis the Pious, Charles succeeds by the Treaty of Verdun in acquiring the western third of the Carolingian Empire. In 839 of the Christian era, Charles the Fat Roman Emperor, another great nickname, but it can't be helped. It's the 9th century, there's a nickname shortage, is born. He's chubby even as a baby, and he becomes known as Charles III. He's Carolingian Emperor from 881 to 888, his subjects number between 10 and 20 million. Charles is a great-grandson of Charlemagne, and despite his apparent chronic weight problem, he's the last Carolingian to rule over a united empire. In 1865, William Butler Yeats, Irish poet and statesman, is born in Sandymount, County Dublin, Ireland, of English and Irish parentage. In 1923, he's awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature. He's the first Irishman so honored. Yeats wrote, "The world is full of magic things patiently waiting for our senses to grow sharper." In 1940, on this day, Bobby Freeman's born in San Francisco. In 1958, when he's 17, Freeman writes and records Do You Want to Dance for Josie Records. The song reaches the number 5 spot on the Billboard Pop chart and the number 2 spot on Billboard's Rhythm and Blues chart. That song is subsequently a hit for other artists as well, scoring in the UK for Cliff Richard and the Shadows, and in the US for the Beach Boys, Bette Midler and the Mamas and the Papas. The B-side for Bobby Freeman, Big Fat Woman, doesn't do quite as well. The Australian writer Rhonda Byrne writes, You might think I've got time to follow my dreams. You don't have time. Life is short. The current life expectancy is 24,869 days. While some of us will live more days and some fewer, either way, you only have a precious number of days to live this life. And so, you don't have time to put off your dreams. This is Richard's Poor Almanac for Friday, June 13. I'm Richard Alcott.